Now then, people, and welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show. It's Monday, the 19th of December, a fresh week. The World Cup is now done. Vamos carajo Argentina, a la Messi, a la GOAT. But yeah, listen, the World Cup is done now. All focus on the Premier League. And of course, it's time for another transfer update concerning Leeds United. So before we get into the video, as is always the case, smash a like, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in, and of course, hit that notification bell. And yeah, let's get into it.
I don't think I do it.
Arsenal started like a house on fire. Signing number 2 for this new era. It's Judgment Day, people. Yeah! What did your boy tell you? It was never in doubt. Never in doubt. Don't believe in any luck, I believe I'm self-made, yeah. So, folks, as you'll be aware, Leeds United will be making moves in this transfer market. There is a number of positions that Leeds United need to fill. Left back, striker, centre midfield, centre back. Take your pick, really, if we're being totally honest. And Jesse Marsh has been talking and saying, look, we are active. We've been active and Victor's active. He says this is one of the best things about working with Victor Orta. His clarity on what the market is and what's available out there and what are good fits for Leeds United are always like bob on. And he knows how we're trying to play football. So therefore, that working relationship that him and Victor have is very, very good. And look, Leeds United had been linked to a striker, one that we are all very, very familiar with. And look, folks, that one striker is, of course, Christopher Wood, New Zealand international, and of course, formerly of Leeds United. And listen, without going into the transfer too much, I have fond memories of Chris Wood. I remember Newcastle away. I remember that goal against Brighton. You know, that season under the Snake, Gary Monk, was pretty special. You know, it was decent in mirage of just absolute woeful manager after manager. And you know, we were so close, obviously, the playoffs that time around, just missing out. But yeah, I have very fond memories of that squad, to be fair. And Chris Wood, regardless of what you think of him now, considering he's moved to Burnley and obviously now he's at Newcastle, he did score goals for Leeds United. You know, many a time I would put a little skydiver on 1-0 Wood. It seemed to be a regular scoreline under the Gary Monk era. Look, Chris Wood knows the Premier League and can do it in the Premier League. Now, a lot of you might be like, Chris Wood, I don't think so. We've moved on. But look at the striking options we have. Would you rather have Chris Wood available as opposed to a Patrick Bamford? You could argue Chris Wood's a better Premier League striker than Patrick Bamford. But, you know, I'm a massive fan of Patrick Bamford, but Patrick Bamford has had one good season. Unfortunately, it's been blighted by injury since then. He could have gone on to have more, but I feel like Patrick's time with Leeds United is going to come to an end, and we'll always have that one season where he was phenomenal. But other than that, it's been a bit stop-start, hasn't it? And would Chris Wood come into this side and get goals when Rodrigo's not putting him away? I would argue yes. Would he be able to hold up the ball and bring others into play? 100%, probably better than Bamford. The January transfer window now is, what, about 2 weeks away, if that. He started just twice in the Premier League for Newcastle in their opening 14 matches of this season. Hasn't had a great time up there. But listen, they're flying. They're in the top 4. He's played in pre-season. He's done all right. Obviously, there's noise that Newcastle would be willing to listen to offers for him. The only issue they have is Alexander Isak, their top new signing. He's suffered a setback in terms of his recovery from injury and could be out until the new year. But what's for sure, Callum Wilson, Isak are streets ahead of Chris Wood in terms of that Newcastle side, in terms of minutes. If they're both fit, then Chris Wood isn't playing at all. Whereas if he was to move to Leeds United, he would get game time. Would he improve it? Yes, he would. You know, you can't deny that fact. However, I mean, I'm not sure what the transfer fee would be. Having moved to Newcastle from Burnley for £30 million, remember he had that release clause in his contract that no one was aware of, but I don't see Leeds United going anywhere close to that, and I don't think Newcastle would want that. His current market value is £10 million, and he's 31, you know, so they're not going to get anywhere close to 30. The only reason they had to pay 30 was to trigger that release clause, because had they have not triggered that release clause, there's no way Burnley would have done business with the situation they were in. They're now in the Championship. And look, say what you want about Chris Wood. In his first season at Leeds United, he scored 13 goals. I know it's the Championship, but we could do with an extra 13 goals now. And we all know he smashed it in that second season, getting his move to Burnley when he scored 27. And just look at the numbers that he's got whilst at Burnley. We're a relegation threatened side. He's not had less than 10. 10, 10, 14, 12. Then he got his move to Newcastle, and he has only scored 3 goals at Newcastle. But as I say, they're fighting for the top 4. Would Leeds United improve if Chris Wood was in this side? Yes. Could we get him for around about 10 to 15 million? Arguably, yes. And I, for one, if that is a serious move that we would make, I would be all over it. I can't lie. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I mean, some say never go back, but one thing you have to be, sure about is Chris Wood scored goals at Leeds United. He scored goals in the Premier League. He would improve us. Disagree if you want, and let me know your reasons for disagreeing in the comments. Now, another transfer that came totally out of the blue and one that I didn't ever see happening. I do really, really rate this player, and I do give him grief because I don't think he's a top 6 level player, if I'm being totally honest. But would this player improve Leeds United? Yes. And that player is, of course, Wan-Bissaka of Manchester United. Look, Manchester United have said, listen, you can move on. His game time under Erik ten Hag has been non-existent, really. They don't rate him going forward. Do we particularly rate Rasmus going forward? I'm not too sure. But one thing I will say, Wan-Bissaka defensively is unreal. He is really, really great. And that's what got him that £50 million move to Manchester United. And that's the issue, isn't it? I mean, Wan-Bissaka's not worth 50 million. I don't think Leeds United are going to entertain this transfer, if I'm being totally honest. I'm just putting it out there. People will be seeing the comments on this video in terms of on social media griefing me for it. But without actually watching the video, I just don't see this being a move that Leeds United will entertain. Of course, we have been linked, but Man United would want close to 30 million for Wan-Bissaka. Let's not forget, he's still only 25, which is very, very young in footballing terms. And if we're being honest, like when they reached the Europa League final, he played over 5,000 minutes, 54 matches in total. This is a player that could still do it at another top club. Maybe one that's not as forward-thinking as Ten Hag wants Manchester United to be. Would he improve, say, West Ham? Yeah. 100%. Would he improve another clubs in and around that? Yes, 100%. Crystal Palace even might take him back. Just doesn't make sense as well for me as a Leeds United fan for us to go after Wan-Bissaka and spend a massive chunk of the transfer budget when we've just brought in Rasmus Christensen. We have Luke Ayling and we've got Cody Drama there as well. So Wan-Bissaka is a non-starter for me. I also lean to the side that maybe the Chris Wood one is, but would I want Chris Wood? Yes, 100%. But just while we're focusing on the right back, I want to have a chat about Cody Drama. I'm not too sure on him. Dortmund, really, I don't see it happening. I know players wanting to stay and therefore move Ayling on, etc. And that's probably the contingency plan, but will Drama still be here? I'm not too sure. Do you think he'll move to Dortmund? No, I don't. I think he's got a very, very good agent. He had a good season at Cardiff. We'll see. Listen, I've been wrong on youth prospects before, and I'll probably be wrong on this one, but I won't be too concerned. I think he's a bit of a bad apple. Just my opinion. And just finally, I want to finish on George Hall. Obviously, Leeds United continue to be linked to George Hall from Birmingham, another young prospect from there. They've got quite a few coming through. Obviously, Jude Bellingham came through that setup as well. We've been trying to sign him for around about 18 months. There's been talk of him snubbing Leeds United. That's been rubbished and said, nah, they know all about him. It's just they're not going to make a move in January. The only thing that is troubling me a little bit on George Hall is the fact that Liverpool have apparently entered the race. And we know that Liverpool have history in terms of gazumping us when it comes to youth prospects. They obviously managed to get Calvin Ramsey from Aberdeen previously from out of our noses. And listen, if they go for George Hall and if they get Bellingham, you could understand him wanting to make that move as well. But it's one to keep your eyes on at least. But yeah, listen, thanks as always for watching the Just Joe Football Show. I hope you enjoyed the update. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Wan-Bissaka, surely a non-starter. But Chris Wood, would you? I would. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a bit. Peace out. Leeds.